Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters. And this afternoon, we have with us a guest who is coming in live with us from England. And all as usual, I have here with me my co-host, Miss Janelle Drayton, and our guest is Miss Anesta Nisbett. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and I'm not going to go ahead and introduce her because I might not do her justice. So I'm going to have Miss Nisbett go right ahead and introduce herself, tell us what you do, and tell us how much you just love life. Go right ahead, Miss Nisbett.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. It depends on where you are in the world. As Alicia Alexander said, my name is Anesta D Nisbett. Some call me pastor, some call me evangelist, some call me prophet, but I am simply just a woman that loves God. I am very much into charity. I enjoy working with the less fortunate. I find myself working a lot with teen moms. Wherever there is a need, I would always fit myself in. I have this ministry called Wings of Refuge Ministry, and it's taken from Psalms 91. Under his wings shalt thou trust. His
Amen.
truth shall be thy shield and buckler. So I'm very much involved with the things of God. But I also have my own ambitions, my own goals. But to me, what God says concerning me, that's paramount. That comes first.
Welcome, Miss Nisbett. Welcome. And go right ahead, Janelle.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Janelle V. I am a life fulfillment coach. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a first lady. I am an author, and I do a plethora of things. But one of the things that I am most passionate about, I'm passionate about helping people uncover their purpose. I feel like if you are going through life and you do not understand who you are and why you are, then you have missed the mark in every area of your life. If you don't have a defining place or destination where you're going, any road would take you there. I am the founder of the She Inspired Network, and we're doing a lot of awesome things, inspiring women to be the best versions of themselves. And Alicia, you know, it is always a joy of mine to co-host Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters with you. And the truth is, we're all on a journey, Anesta. We're all on this amazing path going towards our purpose, heading towards destiny. So I'm very pleased to share this platform with you today, Miss Nisbett. So say hello to all my friends over there in London. Do you like my accent?
But I told you, she's like that. And thank you so much, Janelle. And I am Alicia Alexander, and I am your forgiveness coach. I work with individuals who've been traumatized, who have lost their voice and think that there's no hope. And I am the voice for those who think that they're going through this journey alone. I enjoy working with individuals, enjoy letting you know that, hey, you have to remove self. Your self will block you from getting to where you need to get to. And one of the ways to do that is to deal with forgiveness. Forgiveness is for you, not necessarily for the other individual. And one of the things that would definitely keep you out of heaven is forgiveness. If you don't learn to forgive, there are several things that will keep you out, but forgiveness is a stumbling block. I used my father as an example, the ultimate example for everything. On the cross dying, one of the last words he said, the last set of sentences he used were, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." And that's my example. Forgiveness is key. I listen to the voice of forgiveness. I preach the voice of forgiveness. I don't know how to do anything else but forgive. So I am your forgiveness coach, and I'm excited about sharing this platform. I'm excited about what God has implanted on me to do. There are a lot of ways to service our community. And in a time like this, it's difficult sometimes to be hands-on. So we had to figure out, how do we reach others? How do we minister? how we minister from a point where we're hurting. How do we speak to others who might hurt the way we are? And this is an awesome platform for such program. This afternoon, when I come with these topics, and for this afternoon topic, I knew what I wanted to say. I knew the direction I wanted to go in, but I didn't know how to put it all together and not to be too broad. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and she shared a sermon with me. And in that sermon, he talked about ripping your list. And everything that was said was what I envisioned. I wanted to put it all together, and here was the message. So this afternoon's topic is rip the list. Now, a lot of us might have lists, whether it be, when we think about a list, you automatically think it has something to do with having that handsome, rich, tall, dark chocolate husband. That's not the kind of list we're going to be talking about this afternoon. That might be on your list, but that's not what we're going to be discussing. And this is just an open platform. We're going to just talk, we all mingle, because we are sisters on a journey. So the topic, rip the list, means a whole lot to me. And as we speak this afternoon, as we, just sit down here and chit chat, I want you to keep these words in mind: self, intentionality, forgiveness, praise, and maybe the word change. Because all of it combined together is going to influence the list that we carry. And it's going to determine whether or not we make a change or we remain the same. And as usual, I start with telling a story. And so growing up, I was not given the tools, which like most of us are. And you're from the islands too, Janelle, Miss Nisbett, you from the islands as well, where we are given instructions. And there might be a one-way conversation, which is not a conversation, it's a lecture. For example, if I don't have my cycle, I'm going to get pregnant. As a young child, I don't know what that means. I don't have my cycle, then what? I'm pregnant, not realizing that I have to mess with a boy. We are not, and that conversation needed a deep diving instructions, needed deep diving dialogue, but it's done on the surface. And then there might be an example as to the individuals around you, your parents, your aunts, your cousin, your friends who are older. They grow up and you see them becoming nurses, secretaries, housewives, maybe housekeepers. And that's your vision of what life should be. That's what I'm going to grow up to be. And you're given these instructions and these expectations of what you are to become. Not having the conversation as to what do you really want to do? Where do you really want to go in life? What do you want? What do you feel? We don't have these, at least our parents, I don't know if your parents did, but my parents did not have those deep diving conversations. Yes, they asked. Yes, they were involved. But to me, I wanted it to be a little deeper. Get to know me. Yes, you're my mother. Yes, you're my father. Yes, you're my aunt, uncle, whatever the case is. And you just see me because you saw, you were there when I was born. You were there and watched me grow up. You watched me playing outside, playing dolly house and what's not. And you think that you know me. But in truth and in fact, you don't. And I didn't get the opportunity to really express what I wanted to be, where I wanted to go. I just saw the examples around me and think that's the direction I need to go in. And then when you combine a traumatic situation with what is expected of you, it becomes a daunting life experience because I have to deal with this traumatic situation. And when I say traumatic, it could be a death, it could be a loss, your family lost everything that they had. It could have been a fire, it could have been a sexual abuse. Now you have that trauma combined with the expectations. And as a young person growing up, you have all these things you're dealing with. And the conversations in I had as to how do I deal with this? What do I do? Do I become a firefighter to deal with the fact that my family suffered a loss in a fire? Do I become a counselor to deal with individuals that had been sexually abused? Those professions were not discussed, and you didn't really see women in those roles because you're either a housekeeper, a secretary, a nurse. Am I making any sense here?
Yes, you are.
Making a
And
whole lot of sense.
because these things happen, unconsciously we make a list. And when I say we make a list of the things we want to accomplish, or the things we want to do, or the things we want to get away from, or the places we want to be. And I had a list. I had both a physical list and a subconscious list. And my physical list came from me not being able to verbalize certain feelings. So I wrote them down. And my list was in the form of a story. Whether it be a story about traveling or a story about being on the beach. But regardless of how it was, I had a list. And these were things that I wanted to accomplish. One of the things I wanted to do, I wanted 10 children because I wanted 10 children. I have absolutely no idea, but I wanted 10 children. Another thing I wanted to do, I wanted to retire by the age of 40. And so I had all these lists, get up, grow up, start doing certain things. But because I didn't share these and I didn't know about certain things I had to put in place, none of the things I had on my list were accomplished. And so I found myself getting frustrated. And I imagine a lot of people out there frustrated because they haven't accomplished the things on their list. And I didn't, I'm like, okay, did God forget me? I'm still alive. I'm breathing. I have a comfortable home. I have a family. But those weren't the things that I had on my list. And so what am I going to do? Am I going to stay frustrated? Am I going to just go through life saying, you know what? And you ladies, don't just let me do all the time. You jump in and say, whether or not this is something you can relate to. Because I don't want, maybe I'm the only one that's feeling this way. That I walked around my list haven't been accomplished. And now I feel like, I'm frustrated. I'm at a loss. What do I do with that list that haven't gone anywhere?
Well, let me add this, Alicia. That's one of the reasons why I am so passionate about purpose. See, back then, our parents were only able to give us what their parents gave them. We're talking about encyclopedias. We ain't talking about the internet. It wasn't Google. It wasn't Siri. I mean, I talk to Siri every day like she is a person. I say, hey, Siri, could you remind me to call so-and-so tomorrow at 2? And she says, I put that in your calendar. They did not have the tools that we have today. So the way they communicated with us was different. They told you not to kiss a boy, you would get pregnant. I mean, they didn't go into the whole 9 yards. You was just scared of everything. I remember, growing up in church, my parents are pastors. I've been in church all my life. And, hearing that God was going to come, he was going to come tomorrow, be ready, get ready, because he can come tonight in a twinkling of an eye in a moment. So I remember growing up saying, I don't see no need going to college. I don't see no need trying to do nothing because he can come tomorrow. Why waste time trying to do something when he can come at any minute? That was my misconception of, the rapture, so to speak. And so I never wanted to go to college. I mean, I had great opportunities, but I'm like, why go to college if God's going to come? Maybe he can come by the end of the year. All I wanted to do was get married, have a family, and be happy. And when it comes down to that list, see, having a list in itself is not bad once you've identified your purpose. Because what's going to happen is once you know why you're here and what you're called to, there are certain friends that you can't keep. There's a certain route that you won't go. You already know that, hey, if I'm going to be a doctor, I can't have 4 and 5 children before going to college because it's very expensive. If you know that you were called to go in the military, you may not want to, settle down with a whole bunch of children at that moment. But what it does is it gives you insight. Okay, this is what I need to do, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. Our parents did the best that they could with what they had, especially on the island. So, I give kudos to how they raised us. Now it is our turn. With us that know better, we need to do better. And I've shared this story with you, Alicia, so many times. My daughter told me that she wanted to go to school to be a graphic artist design. And I'm like, from the island, I'm like, a what? Sweetie, on the island, you're either a nurse or you're a teacher or a policeman or you work in the bank. It ain't no other type of career. Or you work for the government because, that's a short job and you will be able to retire. And it's all of that mindset that we placed, So I told her, girl, you can't be no graphic artist. Who paid for that? And now that I do so much with my business and with my network, I realize how expensive it is for a graphic artist. And she does everything for me, from the website to the flyers to everything she does. And it made me feel really bad because I wanted her to go to school to be a nurse because I was passing down what was taught to me. But she was passionate about being a graphic artist, and not just passionate. She was really, really good at it. And I had to repent and I had to say, okay, Janelle, you are making the same choices that was forced on you back then by your parents. And they only made the choices that was forced on them by their parents. And so I had to understand that, hey, look, I got to give my children room to express themselves, room to understand their purpose. As parents, it is our job. If we don't know what their purpose is, we got to ask God to show us. Father, tell me, what is it that you've called my child to do so I can help push her or him in that direction instead of just trying to do it the way we did it and the way they did us back then. And so now I have a middle daughter and she's not 100% keen on going to college. She'll start and she'll stop. She'll start and she'll stop. And then I said to her, I had this beautiful conversation with her one day. I said, baby, listen, college isn't for everyone. Everyone don't need to be in student debt loans. Everyone don't need to be in debt before they even get a job. I said, what's important is I want to know, what is it that you like to do? What do you feel like, okay, mommy, I love doing this and I do this well. And let's work on how we can develop that. I'm not going to go the same route that my parents went with me. Oh, you better go to college. Listen, I spoke with some people, Anesta, that said if they didn't go to college, they was going to get put out. Because that was what was embedded in us, that list. I want my children to go to college. I want them to get a good job. I want them to get married and have kids and and the life goes on. And then when you get married, the question is, oh, when you will have your first child? When you have a boy, they say, oh, when you will have the girl? When you have the girl?
Yes.
Nobody ever says, when are you going to pay the house off? When are you going to be financially free? When are you going to start your own business? You see the thinking. And so even as we have this discussion, guys, as we have this discussion about ripping this list, I'm going to tell you what to do, how to revitalize that list, and how to start writing that list depending on what you've been called to do. Because you maybe need to rip the list and start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. You just need to start all over again.
And if I can say something, when I was graduating from high school, I remember looking around the graduating hall and I began to say, okay, this guy is going to become a doctor and this one is going to become a this and this one. And I sat there saying, so what are you going to become, Anesta? Because like we said, you had to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. And for the life of me, I just couldn't figure out why I was on this earth. And long story short, a lot of bad twists and turns, a lot of mistakes. And then the light bulb finally came on when I'm I'm on a platform preaching, and here is my classmate down there listening to me many years after. And I'm saying, okay, so you are the preacher in the classroom. And that was the beginning of me evolving. Because all along, I had all these gifts and talents on the inside. But because it was not yet realized, because they were not coming to fruition in the same vein that others normally travel, I felt lost. I felt like a loser. I felt like I let down my parents and I let down myself. Because what happens is that we take onto ourselves the list of other people. And then coupled with that, we have self-imposed list. Mm-hmm. So you find we have double weight walking around. I have to go to college and be this because the people are expecting me. Mm-hmm. And Anesta, you owe it to yourself. So you have to go this route and become this because, you know, it would make you look good and it would make you feel good. But as you said, Janelle, what about the reason why you are really here on the earth? I had to first begin to find out my why for being here. And what I've found is that when you find your why, life becomes easy. Life becomes clutter-free. It's not a guesswork. You actually know where you're going. Mm-hmm. And as you said so rightly, Janelle, is that you know the what not to do, and you also know the what to do. Because if I want to become a pilot, why would I learn to drive a boat? What I need to learn is geography.
Right.
Because I want to be a pilot.
But
but sometimes the imposed list upon ourselves, because the circumstances and society says, if you don't look like the neighbor's child, if you don't be as accomplished as a neighbor's child, then we don't even see you. You're ranked as a lesser person in society. But there are a lot of young people coming up now who are saying, I don't want to go to college. No, I don't want to be a doctor. No, I don't want to be a lawyer. I just want to be a cosmetologist. And if we just leave them alone to follow their God-given path, then we look around a year, 2 years after, and they're blowing up on YouTube. They're blowing up on Instagram, coming into fullness, coming into themselves and purpose, but a different route. Mm-hmm. And sometimes as parents and as the society, we just need to relax. Take our hands off. Stop handing lists to individuals. And as individuals, we need to stop taking, self-imposed lists and saying, I have to do this, I have to do this, and in this order. That's another thing. We keep saying, I have to do this, and this is the order. But what is God saying? Because Proverbs is the book that says that many are planning in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's will, his purpose. It comes down to your purpose.
You jump right to what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. You jump right to what I'm saying, because we have these lists that are created on principles that society has put in place.
Yes.
We don't have a list that are created on principles that God have in place. And so our list, why are we not accomplishing this? Why are we not doing this? Why are we not getting there? Why are we not, having the 6 children and, the zeros behind our accounts in the bank? Because we have created this list, but is this the list that God have for us? And there are a lot of us, even though the teenagers, the young people these days are exposed to certain technology and have certain things in place, there are many of us still in my age group, still in our age group, who have a list and who subconsciously still live by that list. Not realizing the pressure that we put in ourselves, not realizing how we have held ourselves back, not realizing how much we could have accomplished and can still accomplish if we were to just address that situation. If we were to just rip that list up. Now, don't get me wrong. You can have a list of accomplishments. Well, I want to be I would like to be the CEO. I would like to have a Mercedes Benz. I would like to have a 4-bedroom house. I would like to have my dream job. You can have these lists, But the point is, are these your lists being built on your principles, or are they God's list built on God's principles? And
Yes.
that would make the difference as to, because I don't want nobody to think, well, you know what, we're supposed to just go around just living life and just whatever it is, whatever will may come. No, that's not what we're saying. What
Mm-hmm.
we're saying is, yes, it's okay to have goals. Yes, it's okay to have dreams. It's okay to have those visions. But who is orchestrating it?
Yeah.
Am I just putting it together? Because, for example, my son wants to play basketball. And he has an advantage because he loves the sport and because of his height.
Mm-hmm.
But is God planned for you to play basketball? Or is it just something that, and take it all the way to the end here? Or is it something you just enjoy doing, so I'm just going to do it? Have you put God in place? And I say to him all the time, talk to God. Whatever you come into me to, I will give you my suggestion. I'll tell you my feelings. I'll give you my input. But ultimately, initially, speak to God about it. I'm not the one that wake you up every morning. I'm not the one that give you the strength and the stamina to be out there running back and forth. I can't do it. Let me run up and down the street twice. That's it. I'm done. I'm out of breath. He can run up and down the street several times and still ready to go again. So ultimately, God has given you that gift and that talent. And yes, I would like to see you do well with it, but I want you to do well with something that you love, that God has a hand in. You take it to him first, and you would, based on your conversation, based on your gut feeling, based on the relationship you have with God, decide if that's the route you want to go. Everybody expects for him to play ball because of his height. Again, because it's society's list, it's society's principles, it's what they look. They've already put him into a category. But is that what God have in store for you? And if you put God first and that's what he has in store for you, you will accomplish it effortlessly. But you have to put him first. You have to consult him first. I am here to provide the means of transportation. I'm here to feed you, which I can't do without his help. But ultimately, it's your relationship with him.
I like
And
what
so,
Anesta said. I like what Anesta said, Alicia, about letting them be. When I
mhm,
look at the climate, the economic climate that has changed and shifted since COVID, I
Yes.
look at all those people that have those prestigious degrees. I look at all those people that work in all different facets of life. And I look at the people that, for instance, do makeup.
Mm-hmm.
They are really, I mean, it's like the world has gone crazy off of looks right now. It's all about what you look. It's all about how you look. It's all about your image, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So it's shifted. It's not the way it was 20 years ago. It's different. And we've got to learn how to change with the times, is what I'm trying to say. And give our children the opportunity to really see, we steer them in the right direction. We give them advice. We let them know, let's pray about it. Like you said, Alicia, let's ask God what it is. And I spoke to a friend of mine the other day, and she said after she graduated out of high school, she was doing hair from she was in high school. She's actually my hairstylist. She was doing hair from she was in high school, and her parents told her after high school, you have two choices. You go to the military or you go to college. So she was like, no, I don't want to go to college. They said, well, if you don't go to college, you have to get out of the house. Now, I remember now you 18, 19 years old. So she went to college. And she said after the first year, she came home with a report card and they're like, what you doing? You wasting our money. And she said, well, I told y'all, I don't want to go to college. I do not want to take up this degree. I want to do here. So they said, you know what? Forget it, because we're not wasting this money. This lady has her own business at 20 years old. She is doing phenomenally well. And I think it's the fear of, Oh, what are everybody else going to say about my child? You know, what they going to say? You know, Alicia, well, I thought by now you would have gotten married again. Alicia, I thought by now you would have had a girl. You know what I'm saying? It's like this box that society
Yes, I've heard that.
into. And if we are not strong enough to break out of this mold and to really rip the list, especially the list that they've created for us, that's why you have to know. If you don't know why you're here, because there's so many people in their 50s and 60s, they tell me, how am I supposed to find my purpose? And it's really no joke. You will meander through life. You will take the wrong job, marry the wrong person. You will do all the wrong things if you don't know why you are here.
True.
You got to understand that when God sent you to earth, when he knit you together in your mother's womb, when you look at Psalms 139, when you look at how intricate he created your frame and he put you together, you know that he did not do that so that you can just be born and be a failure. Just, you know, I don't know I don't know. He sent you to earth with a purpose. And he created you with a purpose, on purpose, for a purpose. And so when you're here, and especially parents, it is our job to help our children discover why they're here. And I'm looking at people in the world. They knew that, oh, their kids was dancing from they was 2. Oh, their kids was singing from they was 2. Now they are all over TV singing and dancing because their parents, they knew. We just holding on to this list because what we fear others would say. Growing up, that was it. That was all it. When the honor roll came out, and you know, you go to school with your cousins and you know, all these other different people. Well, why you did this and why you let her beat you in that? And it wasn't like, okay, can't you just see or say, baby girl, you're doing great and I'm so proud of you. It was always that competition. But what we're trying to say to you today is you've got to ask God what it is that he wants you to do. I always knew that I could talk. I always knew that I had the gift of gab. Every single report card that I would get in school would say, Janelle is a great student. Oh, she's amazing, but she talks too much. I would finish my work and then I would talk and then I would get put out of class or, you know, have to go to the office because I'm talking. Every report card, A student, but she talks too much. And something hit me one day and I realized, God, you've given me the gift to talk.
Yes.
How do I harness the gift that you've given me? Because the Bible says that your gift will make room for you, not what you went to school to do, not what your parents told you that you had to do. It's that gift that he put inside of you, that gift that he's given you. That gift is what makes room for you. What is your gift? Who are you? I don't want to know, oh, my name is Janelle and I'm from the Bahamas. No, who are you really? Who are you really? And one day I was at work and I was just saying, you know, just talking to God while I was standing up, walking around. And I said, God, you know, I do so many things. I sing, I write, I do this and I do that, but I don't really know who I am. And he said to me, you are a life fulfillment coach. And I had never heard that term before in my life. I heard life coach and this coach and that coach, but I was like, so what is that? In order for you to live a fulfilled life, you've got to understand why you've been given this life, why you are here. Mm-hmm. And if you can serve humanity in the capacity that you've been created to do, I mean, it gives you gratification. Money cannot even give you that sense of gratification when you're walking in your purpose. It can't.
Go right ahead, Anesta.
As I keep saying to everyone I meet, when you want to understand what your purpose is, you don't even have to look far. It is that thing that you do naturally with ease. Because as Janelle said, I was the one that everyone would choose on to do that impromptu speech. But in the early days, I would be like, Why me? Why me? But as the years went on, I started to preach. And then I started to preach with notes. And I found it sounded like I was saying a speech while I was preaching. And then I ditched the notes and would just study the text and preach from my head. And then I started to write. So it all surrounded my writing, my verbal words. It was just surrounding words and speech. And what I keep saying is that God would always drop like nuggets. I call them these gold coins in these video games. So you're not left alone. You're not left wandering in the dark. He's always going to drop a coin and say, follow this one. Just as he said to you, Janelle, you are a life fulfillment coach. That was a gold nugget. Pick that one up. And then as he gives that to you, he's going to drop another one down the road. Oh, come on now, do this with this. Tweak this a little bit. And you find yourself getting the name of what you are. Then he's going to tell you how to do it. Come on now, write some books, have some seminars. Come on, create some webinars. Come on, reach out to people, have conferences. And that is God doing just that for us. But we hang on to the list out of fear of failure and the voices of the people. And sometimes all we need to do really is just rip the list and fail if you have to, because you're going to fail forward. just rip the list.
I like fail forward.
Fail forward. I had to rip my list because I had a crazy little list, and sometimes all lists can be one of perfection. I was saying, look, I would never have sex out of marriage, and I would never have an abortion. And I would never have a child outside of wedlock. Well, I maxed that whole list right out myself. Everything I said I wasn't going to do, I did all three. And when I found myself on the abortion table crying out, Jesus, help me, Jesus, help me. And the doctor is there saying, Miss, are you a Christian? And I was saying, I was. And the doctor that was performing the abortion is saying, go back to God. Find yourself back to God. That is when I realized that I had maxed out my own list. You know, that perfectionist list. And I had to tell myself, okay, now that your list is completely wiped out, what next? You failed. What next? But it is in that time that I had to get up and say, no, God, what do you say? What do you say about me? Where are you leading me now? And I had to go around some bends with God. I had to go down some back alleys with God. Because when you're searching for purpose, when you've gotten rid of the list and you mean business, you want to find why you're here. God processes you away from the crowd, away from the people. And that makes it even more difficult because then the people again begin to talk. Look at her wasting her life. She had such great potential. Look. And when I thought I had it together and I'm in my job and I'm loving the job, then God said to me, get rid of that job. And then the people begin to talk again. She gave up her job.
Yes.
Saying that God said.
She's stupid. She's stupid.
But I'm saying to them, look at me now. That living apart from the self-imposed list and items on the list or what people were projecting on me, because I've made that conscious decision to, I'm just going to tear that up. What you want me to do, what you think I should do, what I think I should do and be, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to ask God, God, what do you say? And can I tell you that my journey has been great?
Amen.
It is so much lighter. It is so much, I am loving every day of this journey. And now I'm able to speak to young people who are saying, look, I'm pregnant and I want to have an abortion. I am that mediator saying, no, I'm going to help you through this. You're not going to take this road. It's possible to go to 9 months and bring this baby. I have not dealt with one. I've dealt with a lot of teenage mothers. I've dealt with people who feel as though, look, I can't make it. I didn't measure up to what my family expected. But guess what? Because I made a decision that I'm going to get rid of this list
Mhm.
because I want the best version of me to come forth. I want the world to see me.
Right.
I don't want them to see me through their eyes. I don't want them to see me through their expectation, but I want them to see Anesta, the version that God intended to be here.
That's right.
And every day I'm evolving. Every day there's something new popping into my head. Every day there's a new assignment that I can tackle.
Yes.
Because I've decided that, look, I don't want anything to do with you and what you're saying to me. I'm going to tear that up.
Yes, with that list.
You have to get to a point where you get this mind frame where I don't care. You tear that up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take this road and this route with God. I'm going to tear that up.
And you know,
And that is when life becomes beautiful. That's where you begin to see
Fulfillment.
the why.
Mm-hmm.
The why you are here.
And you know, we're talking here. Janelle, know I always take the role of the people, of some of the people, because they're not here to voice their opinion. And so I listen to both y'all, and again, individuals in my age group, older, and maybe a few younger who are not out of the boxes yet, still have that list. They're living life, but don't have life. I have a friend, she's my friend, and a few years ago, she was on the verge of getting married. But prior to that, she had all these things she wanted to accomplish. I want to see my sons through college, through high school and college. She's trying to complete her education so she could work at a particular department, which she was able to do. She got her degree, got the job that she wanted. Then she wanted to get married, and she met the man of her dreams, and she was about to get married and decided to do a medical procedure. And that medical procedure damaged her life. She was not able to go any further. And, you know, I think about her. I love her dearly, and I think about her. And I think even if we don't verbalize it, and it's not an overnight thing that I could just change my mind and not want to follow this list, because I've been growing with this list for so long. How to, you know, I can't just get up tomorrow and say, listen, I'm just going to rip this list up and do whatever will may come. It doesn't work like that. And we're not here to tell you that it's an overnight event, that tomorrow you can just get up and snap and say, no, I'm not doing this no more. Forget that job. A lot of us hold on to anger, not speaking to this person because it's so and so, and I will never talk to them again, and I never do this again, and I'll never whatever. Not realizing that in itself is a list.
Yes.
And here we are suppressing ourselves, and we're frustrated. We're frustrated with our lives. We're frustrated. We push love away.
Mm-hmm.
We push friends away. We don't accomplish things because we can't see clearly. We can't see past that thing that we have manifested up here. We can't see past it. And what got me, because I ripped my list, what got me was I needed to forgive somebody. I needed to forgive some people, not just one. And until I got to the point where I say, you know what, I need to forgive. I can't walk around saying anymore, I don't care what nobody's saying. I'm not forgiving this person for what they did. I don't care what it is, but not forgiving was a thing on my list. And until I got to the point and I spoke to God about it, and him and I had some back and forth. I don't know if y'all ever fight with God, but I fight with him all the time. I have a spot in my room with him. I say, sit here, we're going to talk. And he sits, I can't see him, but he sit down and he listened. And he says, I hear you, my child, but I'm going to still do what I'm going to do because I'm God. But I fight with him all the time. And the fights I had was, yes, you need to be free, but I'm not going to forgive nobody for sexually abusing me. You crazy? And until I got to the point where I heard the voice of forgiveness, I call it the voice of forgiveness. I heard the voice of forgiveness. I heard, This is what you need to do if you want to be free. Forget about all those expectations you have. Forget about all the, well, this is what will happen. And one of these days, you're going to see this person and this is what will happen. And you're going to just knock them out. Please, I see the person, I'll probably run. I'll probably turn in a corner and start crying. But I had all these things I was going to do. And all these, and I'm going to, get called the authority, whatever the case was. But until I heard the voice of forgiveness, I realized I was living a fictitious life.
Yes.
Because I wasn't happy. I wasn't as happy as I should be. I wasn't accomplishing. I wasn't light. It's like you said, I had weight on my shoulder from both angles, not just one shoulder, because I wasn't walking left-sided. Because it was the forgiveness list over here. Should I forgive or not forgive? It was a list of that. And there was a list of, well, I am so stressed, I can't go on anymore. It was all kind of list. And then because I had all these burdens on me, I treated my family a certain way. And we do that, not even realizing what we're doing. You have the list of your job expectations, and you want to make it up the ranks, and it's not happening the way it happened. You come home from work frustrated. You had plans that you wanted to do X, Y, and Z, and now you have to pay the water bill, the light bill, the whatever bill. I'm frustrated now because my list of things are not working. And I had to forgive. And the minute I forgave, the minute I said the word, I forgive you, it's like everything just fell off. And I started living. And, people find it hard. I find it hard sometimes that I don't know how not to forgive. You could do me wrong. No, I'm not going to forget. And it all depends on how I deal with it. But I find it hard not to forgive somebody because I know what not unforgiveness did to me. So I don't want that back on my list. And a lot of us have these expectations, we have these fabrications, and there's no magic pill. But how do we tell our people? How do we tell our sisters? How do we tell our brothers? Because our brothers have pain too. How do we tell them, just rip that list? Do we tell them write everything down and then rip it? Or do we just tell them, hey, just take it to God? Because some people have lost that faith. Have lost that faith in God that He will take care of stuff. Because for 20, 30 years, I'm trying to get to a certain point in my life and it's not happening. And according to the word, if I do X, Y, and Z, God will take care of me. No, we're not reading the verse before the verse after. We're just reading that verse. So therefore, we're not accomplishing what we need to accomplish. According to the word, or according to Pastor so-and-so, Pastor so-and-so, Pastor so-and-so is not the Bible. Pastor so-and-so will give me a verse. He has 1 hour to elaborate on that one verse, and he's going to take it in a certain direction. He's not reading the verse before the one after. He's going to elaborate on that one. And if that one is not fulfilling what's in my life, I've given up on God. I've given up on believing because my list is not working. That verse that said God will take care, cast all your burdens. I cast my burdens on Him every day. And still I'm not the CEO. And He said, if I cast my burdens, if I stay humble, He'll make me CEO. That's my understanding. And that's not necessarily the case. And so we walk with this list and we are not getting anywhere. And we don't know why we're not getting there.
Well, that list, Ms. Anesta said it. She said it best a couple of minutes ago. I totally understand where you're coming from, Alicia. I totally get it. I've been there as a pastor's kid. I couldn't even walk on the side of the street without someone calling my parents and telling them this. So all my life I grew up, I had to have a certain standard. And when I got pregnant at 17 or 16, my world shattered because I was the talk of the town and oh my God, Rev daughter and the bishop daughter and oh my God, she should be ashamed of herself. It was like this whole condemnation. And so, yes, you've been shaped by your disappointments. We know that you've been carrying it for years and it's not easy to let go. but you have to get to that place where you want more. When you look at your life, and if you say, I do not like where I am, you take inventory of everything. There are patterns. If we look at our lives, we would see patterns of the same thing that we've done, that our parents have done, that our children are now doing. Some of them are generational curses that need to be broken. But what we need to do is, when we get to that place where, you know what, I want more. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I want more. When you get to that place, then you are ready to have an encounter with God so that he can shift your mindset. See, because number one, you can't do this without God. You can't. I don't know, what you serve or what you do, but you can't do this without the help of God, because you've got things fighting against you, that are fighting against your destiny, that are fighting against your purpose, that do not want you to fulfill who God has called you to be, because the enemy knows, and there is an enemy. He knows that if I let you get to this place where you are walking in your gift and in your purpose, then you're gonna deliver so many other people. You're gonna cause people to, come out of where they at, and they're gonna realize their purpose, and so it's his job to try and distract us and keep us looking at the list and looking at our failures. You understand?
That's
And when Jesus died on the cross, he took care of our sins once and for all. He's not going to die today because I sinned last night. It's done. It's a finished deal. The cross of Calvary was the transaction that took care of that. So what I'm focusing on now is my relationship with God, the intimacy that I have with him, hearing his voice, because it's that voice that's going to lead you to finding out why you're here. And like Anesta said, he's going to give it to you in bits and pieces. It's going to give you a piece of the puzzle here. He's going to show you a piece of the puzzle there. He may show you something in a dream. He may let you read something in a book, let you see a sign, something. And you may say, you know what? I believe that was God showing me this. You will never change or never become someone else until you're tired of the person that you are. So when you get to that place as adults, we've got to take responsibility of where we are because of the decisions we've made, and be willing to change and allow the Holy Spirit to transform us to get us to where we need to be. And so, I'm a no excuse person. I don't like excuses. So if you want to be somewhere different, you got to be willing to do something that you've never done, to get something that you've never had, to be someone you never were, to go someplace you've never been. So if you're listening to this broadcast today and you're saying, I got this list, I want to get rid of it, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to move on, spend some time in silence with God.
Yes.
Let him tell you. Let him tell you his expectation of you, what he wants you to do. And you may realize that if you had been doing that, you wouldn't have even had the stress over here. I believe that we all have purpose, and Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters is giving us a voice to help each and every one of you by sharing our stories, sharing our imperfections and ways that we fall short. And we are transparent because we want to help people. We want to see you prosper. We want to see you get to that place where you are fulfilled because you're doing what you were called to do. So we believe in you. You can do it. So rip that list. Tell that boy bye.
Yes.
Rip the list. And let's start all
Rip
over.
that list.
Leave the list. I'm going to write a song about that.
Our list has to be created with God in mind and God's purpose. It can't be just because I. We have to remove self. And as I listen to you talk, I'm not a talker. I don't have the gift of gab like Janelle does. But I knew in my spirit that my ultimate goal is to try and help people. I'm a little more laid back. I'm a little more soft-spoken. But I love people. I love helping. I love knowing that, hey, you're comfortable speaking with me. You're comfortable sharing and I'm going to give you a response that's not a biased one. as realistic and as human as it can be, I will respond to you in that way. But I was told that motivational speaking is not a job. And so therefore my mind was focused somewhere else. And a lot of us are being told that it's not possible. Whether it be motivational speaking, whether it be, it's not possible. You can't do it. And even if we, like I said, don't walk around with that list physically, we live our lives that way. You know, we just go around thinking, okay, this is what needs to be done. And we don't get to the point, like Janelle say, where you're quiet and you listen to the voice of God and you learn to have that relationship with Him. And that happens by us realizing that we can't do this on our own.
Yeah.
God has to be head. He has to be a part of it. You think of your child, and your child wants to accomplish certain things. And there are things that he cannot do or she cannot do without your assistance. If my child wants something to eat or to go somewhere, I don't expect him to get up and drive at 5, at 6. I have to take him there. So he has to involve me. And it's the same way we are to be with God. We have to involve Him, realizing that we can't do it on our own. And until my child comes to me and say, Mommy, can I have so-and-so? Can you take me so-and-so? Or can you do this? He's not getting it. It's not going to happen. He's going to be laying down there frustrated that he didn't get that burger that he wanted. You think you can go get it yourself? Go get it yourself. Let me see you do it. You know, you can't. He can't do it. He has to bring it to me first. Not that because I'm controlling him, not because I dictate as to what he can do or cannot do, but because ultimately he's dependent on me.
Yes.
And so therefore we have to learn to be dependent on God, knowing that He says He's going to take care of it. He has taken care of it. He's made provision for it. And we fail continuously to give it to Him, and we fail to remember. That's something we do. He took care of us 2 years ago when we didn't have certain things in place, when we couldn't get up out of the bed, when we laid on our back and thought all hell had broken loose. And He brought us out of that. He gave us the nuggets like Anesta spoke about. And when we get back on our feet, we completely forget about Him.
Yes.
So we fail to remember. And and as we're talking, and I'm thinking about, Janelle, you can elaborate on this, the tragedy that just took place in Florida. And I was speaking to Miss Anesta about it. And you think of how many people might have just kissed their wife goodnight, or kissed their child, just gave their child a bath, or bought their favorite ice cream, so I'm going to sit down and have my ice cream tonight in front of a good movie. Or, just got a job, just got a promotion, just bought a new apartment. Or even on the flip side, just had an argument with their mother, just had a falling out with their husband, because things are not going the way they want it to go. And in the blink of an eye, literally in the blink of an eye, everything was taken away. We have to, and did they have that opportunity to have that salvation, to have that conversation, to rip that list and put it all in His hand? Probably not. We might have had a few that has given life to God, just got off their knees from having a conversation with Him. I'm not putting a label on anybody, or putting a statistics, because I don't know, have a statistic sheet or listen, but how many did that? How many gave it to Him? How many got, we say, tomorrow, I finally got the position I wanted. That was on my list. Let me cross that off. Or I finally did parachuting. Let me cross that off my bucket list. Was any of that God's plan? And now lives are lost. And not just their lives are lost, lives are affected. Because even if you did not know anybody in that building at the moment, I'm watching the news. I am emotional about it.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm thinking, what can I do different?
That is why in this present moment, we ought to go to God, because whenever we find ourselves broken, perplexed, terrified, whatever the emotion is, when you're broken, you're supposed to revert to the manufacturer. So when we find ourselves experiencing these types of emotions, it's for us to go and check back with God. Sometimes we turn to our friends in good faith. And most times all they can do is provide a listening ear, but they can't necessarily fix us. When we go back to our manufacturer, which is God, he will give us the truth as to why we're here. He will reveal to us what gifts he placed on the inside and for what reason. Then after a while, we find ourselves becoming purposeful, not burdened down, but we begin to have this full feeling. And it comes back to Janelle, fulfillment. And we have to be intentional, Alicia, your word, intentional. And without effort, we'll find ourselves now with a brand new list that is so effortless. It would be a joy now for us to be ticking this list off. I got to do this and I've got to do this and I'm happy because it coincides with purpose. So we can't procrastinate anymore and take life for granted and feel as though we have, 2 more years to be just, just off balance. I don't know what my purpose is. I have this list that is weighing me down and, I'm going to wait casually. No, we have to be intentional in this present moment.
Yes.
Because it may not be a building collapsing on us. It may be something else. It may be a vehicular accident.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would be said about you concerning the time that you spent on the earth? Could it be realistically be said of you that, hey, she came and she fulfilled purpose. She touched 10,000 millions of lives. Could that be really said? Or as I hear back home, they would say she promised more than she delivered. Mm-hmm. That's a phrase that we use back home. Would that be said of Janelle? Would that be said of Anesta? Would that be said of Alicia? So we have to seize every moment, and that moment begins in this one that we have breathing. And no matter what state we are in, we go to our manufacturer and say, look, God, I'm at rock bottom. But the bottom line is, pun intended, is that we have to seek him, receive answers from his hand, and then be intentional to run with the purpose that is upon that list for our life.
Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned that, I think about our age. People might say, well, you're 40 years old. You're not 40 years old because your age is dependent on when you would pass. And you might pass tomorrow. So that means you're very old. But I might have 50 more years to go. That means I'm young.
Yes.
We don't have time. We don't have time to keep reliving and digging up these old wounds. We need to rip that list, start a brand new list, but at the top of it, make sure God is in control. Make sure you say, you know what, before I even decide to go cook that rice and peas, God, is that I need to have dinner tonight? Because I might choke on that peas. I might choke on that peas, that maybe that one pea not cooked properly. So is that what I need to have for dinner tonight? Or maybe I should just have some soup. We want so much in life, and we have gotten so comfortable despite the examples that we have around us of disaster, of COVID, of people passing in the not even a blink. You don't have to blink before somebody drops. And we have so many examples around us, but yet still we walk around with this list, wanting to live our life, wanting to do things our way. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we're telling you, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to get up tomorrow and say, hey, that's it. It's a work in progress, but it's attainable. Yes. And I'm a living testament that Janelle is, Miss Anesta is, because we have all had some sort of event in our lives that put us into a category that we were living on a list that are built on principles that society put in place, but not principles that God have in place. Even if we have him as the ultimate example, we weren't living that way because we are so conformed to believe and to think that things has to be a certain way that we are just running with our own agenda, not consulting him and finding out, is this agenda appropriate for this meeting?
Wow.
And the topics that we talk about here, Janelle, it's for real. It's nothing. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm not trying to, be theoretical. I'm not trying to be a psychologist. We're not trying to be psychologists, psychologists or psychiatrists. That's a word? Am I saying it
That's a word.
correctly?
That is a word. Dealing with
but
psychics.
We are talking from real life experience, from here, from our hearts. And we're praying and hoping that we can be your voice, letting you know that you're not alone, that there are individuals out there who feel the same way that you do, who are dealing with the same situation that you're dealing with, and maybe worse, because what Anesta can bear, I probably can't bear. The things Anesta went through, I probably fall out the minute I look at certain situations. And the things that I've been able to deal with, Janelle probably can't deal with. But we're here for each other. We are a circle of sisters that are on a journey. Your journey might be different from mine. And even if you want to share a platform with me or talk about the same thing I talk about, you want to be a motivational speaker about so and so, it's not in my place to say no, because the world is so big that you can reach a certain part that I don't have reach to. So we need not be selfish and learn to love each other, work together, talk about what we feel, not be judgmental, not be willing to point a finger, but realize that before we try to be perfectionists, one of the first things are we're human.
Yes.
We're human. And in addition to being human, we're human because we are children of God.
That's right.
We didn't just drop out, of the sky one day and, here she is with a little curve here and some hair there. We're human formed by him. Right? And yes, it's okay to have a list where you want to accomplish things. You want to get to certain places. I want to be a Christian. I want to serve God. That's okay. But have your list approved by the master.
Amen.
Have him be a part of it. Consult him. Don't consult me. Although I'll be able to give you some advice based on what I've experienced and based on what I've seen and based on what has been impressed on my heart, based on what the Spirit has told me. But ultimately, put him first. And we can talk about this for the next couple of hours. But it's been over an hour. And so we're going to get ready to wrap up. I know it was short and sweet. And so before we go, I'm going to ask our guest, Miss Anesta, to give a final word to our audience. We had quite a few comments. We had individuals who said, let me just read a couple. They are enjoying the conversation. It's a well-needed topic. There's some amens, like, yes, Lord, we're on this. These are the topics that we need to be focusing on, just being real. And someone said purpose is essential. And they are absolutely, Mr. Drayton said we need to just be stupid for God. Just be stupid for God. I like that. Just be stupid for him. And I thank everybody for joining in. I thank you for your encouragement. So Miss Anesta, go right ahead and give them your final word and also let them know where they can find you on social media.
I can be found on Facebook. I have a Facebook page under the name Evangelist Anesta Nisbett. That's where I go live. So if you want to connect with me, like and follow, and make sure your notification is on, and every time I go live, you'll be notified. If I'm supposed to leave a final word with the people who I'm not even seeing, but thank God we are impacting lives. I would say to you that finding purpose, because for me, that has been the most important achievement. Finding your purpose is what you should be going hard after. Every time I find myself on a platform preaching, and I know that Anesta in and of herself couldn't get there by herself, I would just smile and say, God, I love this journey. I love this route. Every time I find myself ticking an assignment off of my God-ordained, God-approved list, I would smile and I would say to God, I love this journey and I love this route. I'm at a place right now where God is just blowing my mind. Every time I look around, it's something bigger. And I know for sure that I could not have been here had I kept that original list, the one that was self-imposed, the one that others projected on me. But I had to make a decision. So let me encourage you today to make a decision. If things are not going right in your life, if you know that where you're at this moment is not the very best version of yourself, that's not all there is to you, and you know well that there is more on the inside to come out, let me encourage you to go to God. Let me encourage you to have a conversation with the Master. And as he speaks, I encourage you to listen. And I know he's going to tell you to get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that. Because he wants to do life for you his way. May I remind you today that his way is the best way. You'll end up with a life that is joyful, a life that is fulfilled, a life that is purpose-filled. And once you get on that journey, there's no stopping you. Your journey becomes easy. And that weight, as the Bible says, it becomes light. May God bless you all. And thanks for having me, Alicia. And thanks for having me, Jane.
You're welcome, sweetheart. We absolutely
Thank you.
love you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Right ahead, Janelle.
I hate saying goodbye, but thank you, Miss Alicia, as always. And Anesta, thank you so much for sharing your story, a portion of your story with us. I believe that this platform inspires so many people. You guys know where to find me. I am Miss_She Inspired on Instagram, and I'm also She Inspired Women on Facebook, or you can find me under my name. I am getting ready to release a new book. It's called Emerge, the Remaking of Me. So you're going to see more information about that and how God has transformed my mind. He has done something supernatural in my life that shifted my thinking and gave me a 365-degree shifting to the point where I don't recognize the old me, because I am now living the best version of myself, Janelle 2.0. And I want to encourage someone and show you how you can go from this and you can go to that. So make sure you follow me and hit me up and just let Miss Alicia know how much this program has been blessing you. I believe that she have a way that you can sow a seed to help us continue to spread the word around, because we are passionate about helping people. We're not just doing this on a Saturday because we have nothing to do, but we feel like this is an assignment and this is a part of our purpose. And we love helping people and we want to help you. I am Janelle V. I am your life fulfillment coach, and I would love to help you live a fulfilled life and get to the next level. And if that's you today, send me a message.
Thank you so much, Janelle, and thank you, Miss Nisbett. And like Janelle, I hate to go. You know, I got my freedom through forgiveness, and ever since, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a talker, but ever since, I don't know how to shut up and how to turn my mind off. I'm always thinking about the next project and the next ministry and how am I going to reach the next person and how can I help somebody? Did I do enough? And again, there I go with my list. Did I do enough? Am I helping the next person? Am I this? Am I that? And I had to step back and say, God, take control. And ever since I've done that, like Janelle, she said 365. I don't know if it's 365 for her. I have made a U-turn, an illegal U-turn, because the sign said, don't make a U-turn here. But I didn't have an option. I could not wait to the next U-turn sign. I had to make it in the middle of nowhere. You know, when you go down the highway and they have the crossing from one part of the highway to the next, and it says police only or authorities only, I made a U-turn there. They didn't catch me. But I had to make that U-turn before I got to because if not, I don't know where I would be. It was in my spirit at that time to do it. And I am excited. I am relieved. I am blessed. I am hopeful. I'm fulfilled. I'm intentional about making a difference. And you can be too. It's not an easy road. It's not an easy task. It's not an overnight pill that you take and everything goes away. But it starts with you removing self. First seeking God, and then you have to remove self. Because our self can be damaging to ourselves.
That's true.
Sometimes we think that we blame everybody for the things that are taking place. But did we stop and take that moment and do a inventory like Janelle mentioned? Did we do that soul searching? Did we spend that moment together with God to find out what's going on? Do you have a chair in your room and say, God, that's your seat? Let's talk. You get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and said, okay, the place is quiet. It's between you and me now. Let's see how we're going to battle this out. You're going to lose because you're going to still do what he says. But at least you're going to have that conversation. Right? So I would say to our audience, first, thank you so much for your support and your encouragement. Thank you, Miss Anesta. Thank you, Janelle, for your support. Thank you to all my guests that I reach out and they say, you know, Alicia, we got you. We're right here with you. And for being so on point. None of this is rehearsed. This is just us speaking from our heart. This is us speaking based on what God has purposed in us. Some gonna tell whether it be a man, woman, a teenager, a teenage boy, teenage girl. Stop looking at what everybody else is doing. Stop living according to society's principles and start living according to God's principles. Put him first. Seek him first. Thank God for unanswered prayers. But there are a lot of times we pray for things and he said, no, I'm not answering that one. And don't get frustrated by where you are because sometimes we're in a position because he's preparing us for something bigger. And he wants to make sure that when we get what he has prepared for us, we can handle it like champions, like who he created us to be. So sometimes we want to get to certain places and we want to accomplish certain things. And he said, nuh-uh, it's not time yet. I'm still preparing you. I'm still preparing you for that husband. I'm still preparing you not to be the CEO of this company, but to own your own business. So that you know how to deal. I'm just having you here for a time so you can learn the certain tools. But ultimately, I got you. I wrote your story. I wrote your book. I know the beginning and the end. You just have to live it out. So I'm going to say to you, rip that list. Rip that list. Rip the list that they have created for you. Rip the list you have created yourself. And when you have the opportunity, make a new list. Make a new list with God's permission, with God's advice. And again, we are on this journey and we are talking to you not because we are perfectionists, but because we have learned something. We've been through some things. And not only that we've learned and we've been through it, we're still going through it. So we're still learning. But we have learned enough that we can be your voice. I've learned enough that, and because it freed me, that I can be your forgiveness coach. I can show you how to approach forgiveness, not to destroy you, but to help you. And you'll be surprised as you forgive somebody because your demeanor is lighter, because your burden is lighter, the world looks brighter. Your environment looks brighter. You're doing things that you didn't even think you could accomplish.
Right.
Just because you remove. Have you ever gone to the store? You guys are from the islands. And your parents send you to the, I mean, when I was younger, my grandmother used to send me to the corner store to buy a pound of saltfish or a pound of chicken wings. And the merchant would put the wings in a plastic bag or paper bag and put it on the scale. And then he would put in one the wing and hold the tip. And if the tip took it over a pound, he cut off that piece. Right? Because all I asked for was a pound, right? He would cut off that piece and bring it to exactly a pound. Not giving me no more, not giving me no less. But we have taken on so much that we've taken the whole pound and a half.
Mhm.
And we probably can carry that pound and a half, but we need to consult God. We need to have that relationship. We need to put our trust in Him. We need to rebuild that faith. The fact that we're here speaking, meaning that our possibilities are endless and opportunities are being presented to us on the regular. So take advantage of that. You can find me on Facebook at She Forgave. You can find me under my name, Alicia Alexander. You can find me on Instagram at She Forgave One. And I'm excited about this platform. I'm excited that God has imparted this in me. And I'm excited that I have found my voice and you can find your voice as well. So until we meet again next month for Chit Chat with the Journey Sisters, put God first. And we absolutely love you. And ladies, what are we going to do this evening? We are going to rip that list. Rip that list. Thank you guys. You have a wonderful month and happy 4th of July. Whatever you do to celebrate, please be safe.
Yes.